In this section, we are going to look at how to solve radical equations, and you might get radical mixed up with rational. A radical is any type of root. Normally it is a square root, but we'll also see some cube roots, fourth roots, and so forth. Rational is a fraction. Radical is a root. So, this sort of sums that up here, an equation that includes a radical, square root, cube root, etc. The most important thing that you must remember when solving these is that when solving radical equations, you sometimes get extraneous solutions. Those are solutions that do not work in your original equation. So we'll see some of those as we come along. So we'll start with some that are really simple. Like example 1 here, we've got the square root of x minus 2 equals 6. So to solve this, we would just square both sides, and we get x minus 2 equals 36. And then we would just add that 2. So x would equal 38. Now because we have squared both sides of this equation, we have made it possible to get extraneous solutions. So for these, you want to always check your answers. Every time, check your answer. So if we plug 38 back in, we get 38 minus 2 underneath the square root, which is going to give us the square root of 36, which is in fact 6. So we know that this is correct and 38 is our answer. Okay. For number 2, for example 2, we have a cube root. So we are going to cube both sides of this equation. That will give us x squared minus 1 equals 27. Right here, remember 3 cubed is 3 times 3 times 3. So we get 27 there. We will add 1 to both sides. So that will give us x squared equals 28. And then we will square root both sides. So x equals the square root of 28, which will break down. So we could make that the square root of 4 times 7, or 2 square root of 7. So our answer there would be 2 square root of 7. To plug this back in to check, it's actually a lot easier to plug in the square root of 28 than the 2 square root of 7. So if we plug this back in to check, we've got the cube root of the square root of 28 squared minus 1. When we square the square root of 28, we're just going to get 28. And 28 minus 1 is 27. The cube root of 27 is 3. So we know this is correct. And our answer here is 2 times the square root of 7. Okay. For our next problem that we have, okay, example 4 is a little bit easier. We have square roots on both sides. We're going to square both sides. So we get 6n minus 3 equals 4 plus 7n. And whenever we do that, now we can just solve. I would subtract the 6n. So negative 3 equals 4 plus n. I'd subtract that 4. I would get negative 7 for my n. Now I need to plug this back in to check for extraneous solutions. So I've got 6 times negative 7 minus 3 would equal 4 plus 7 times negative 7. So this would be the square root of negative 42 minus 3, which is going to be the square root of negative 45. And over here, I have 4 minus 49, which will also give us negative 45. Now, it appears that those two are equal, so maybe that it works, but these are both imaginary. So our textbook is going to say that this is not a solution, and it will just give no solution for the problem because you're getting that negative underneath the square root. I think there's decent arguments for saying that those are actually equal to each other, but our textbook says no, so we'll go with them. All right, this last one that we're going to do in these notes, this one is one where we have a fourth root, but notice now we have stuff on the outside of our fourth root. We need to get rid of that before we're going to raise both sides to the fourth power. So I would add 20 right here. So I get 2 times the fourth root of x squared plus 1,000. And that equals 20. I would divide by 2. So I get the fourth root of x squared plus 1,000 equals 10. Then I'm going to raise both sides to the fourth power. So I will get x squared plus 1,000 equals, and here this is going to be 1 with 4 zeros here. So I get 10,000 here. I'm going to subtract my 1,000. So I get x squared equals 9,000. I'm going to square root both sides. So x is going to equal plus or minus. Here, this can break down into 900 times 10. 900 is 30 squared. So for our answer, we will get x equals plus or minus 30 times the square root of 10. Now, if we plug this back in to check, it's really a lot easier to use that square root of 9,000. So if we have 2 times the fourth root of square root of 9,000 squared plus 1,000 minus 20, we will get 2 times the fourth root of, here we'll have 9,000 plus 1,000 minus 20. This will be 2 times the fourth root of 10,000 minus 20. The fourth root of 10,000 is 10, so 2 times 10 minus 20. Of course, will give us 20 minus 20, which is 0, which is what we are supposed to get. So we know that the square root of 9,000 or positive 30 square root of 10 works. Our other possible solution is negative square root of 9,000. So without reworking this, I'm just going to show that that will also work. If this was negative here, once I squared it, I would get 9,000. And then the rest of the problem would work out the same. So both answers, both positive and negative 30 square root of 10, are answers to this problem.